Welcome to the Bougie Black Brother Network. Good evening and welcome to Rethink Politics, where we talk about politics and the day-to-day issues that may come up. And one of the main factors that as African-American men we seeing and welcoming for this month of February is Black History Month and the Black Panther. And my co-hosts are Conjunction Jenkins.
What's up, man?
What's going on, brother?
Hey.
And Easy did it, not does it anymore. He
done did it,
did it. He done did it. What's up, E?
I got so much to say about that Black Panther movie, though.
I was just curious in terms of what Black History Month meant in 2018. You know what I mean? Like when I was growing up in school, I mean, I think kids still do it now, but, you know, you got to write a report. Motherfuckers, you know, the top three. MLK, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X. And then, you know, the just exactly. Carver. You know what I mean? It's just, it seemed, I don't want to say arbitrary or more, you know, it was just redundant and not really, you know, what does it mean? And now that I'm an adult, I have, you know, lived a little bit of life. Say again?
Yeah, I mean, there's different perspectives. It's like the history of it, and it's kind of like what do the kids think about it, you know, and then there's like the pop culture of it. I mean, it depends on what perspective now. I feel like the kids now see it totally different. It's MLK is probably like the only way like Republican white people see it, if they even see it at all.
Yep. Republican.
I know, I get conservatives. I don't know what you call these people that don't care about.
Yeah, you got to put a flag on them somehow.
You got to stamp them in some
the
way.
Republicans.
I know, you're right, man. Right.
No, but honestly, when you looking at Black history now, and I'll give you an example with the kids, they're not coming up with the traditional people. They're coming up with scientists. They're doing reports on doctors who started, you know, heart transplants or liver transplants. So that's what's actually coming out of what this generation is being told to do. They know Martin Luther King, but they kind of like, yep, whatever. Anyway, this is really, really interesting. And move on.
And, you know, we kind of talked about it just a little bit, but the fact that in 2018, just now, Black Panther movie, Ryan Coogler, he's like the most, what is it, successful Black director, or that was the biggest?
That's the biggest budget.
What was it?
And it's like 8 different things that he just
did. And then that just happened. So I'm just kind of like, on one hand, the historical Black history, but Obama literally just happened, you know, from historical, you know, perspective. There's still a lot of firsts. Didn't the old girl, I forget her name, I think it was for Martin, she won an Oscar a couple years ago, didn't she?
Who's that?
For the director.
Which one? Which movie?
The Martin Luther King movie, Selma.
No. She was nominated.
She was supposed to do the Black Panther movie, and then she ended up doing
but
the Oprah movie.
She's doing that, what you call it in time, that the little fantasy.
Yeah, the wardrobe joint. Yeah, they step into the wardrobe and there's a tree.
That's supposed to be big, though. I mean, that's what they're saying. This
it is.
Genre, it is. But, you know. It's gonna be nice. That's gonna be a nice family movie. Yeah. You take the kids, but you know, again, that's just now happening. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of like,
it's comfort food.
No, but just
he's doing a comfort food.
No, but just from a historical perspective, like there's.
Is it?
No, I guess what I'm saying is, I feel like Black History Month now just has to evolve. You know what I mean?
So if we centering everything on a month, then we still back where we were. So they took advantage of, and this is what Marvel and Disney did. That's why they released it in February as opposed to releasing it like they normally do. Like their Marvel movies is either in March or actual April. But they wanted to grab it because it was Black History Month. And they said, let's give this guy the leeway and let's try it. Because if it falls, they know Infinity Wars is coming up in the next 3 months. They can recover their money if this didn't do exactly the way they wanted it to be.
But now that it did,
Now they like, Jesus, let's hurry up and get this guy to do number 2.
And
because to them it's about the money.
And Black Panther better get a bunch of screen time and whatever the next shit is.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's what led to it. So I really want to get into that because I'm gonna have to honestly say I've been trolling a lot of different news people, reviewers, just to see if they twist their way of evaluating it. So I went behind and I started even before the movie came out because they was praising it, but I was kind of like, maybe they was doing the gratuitous, let's give black people the credit because, they've been crying for the last 2 years. But this one was basically, you had a lot of respected actors in there, and a lot of people respect Ryan Coogler because he should have been nominated last year. Not last year, the year before with Creed.
2015, yeah.
For Creed. And his other movie, his first one, Fruitville Station, I think won in Sundance or was critically acclaimed anyway. So they gambled on this. And when Ava DuVernay, and at first I thought they wouldn't let her do her thing, but I think she said, this isn't my style. I'm not a superhero type woman with the way I write things, because if you see what she's created, I don't think this is in her will base, that she can go through.
Well, I read that, and this is only like rumors, that Disney didn't give her the budget that she wanted, supposedly, but that might be that, they created some story just so they can have that switch, that transition to Ryan Coogler.
Right.
But supposedly, or she even created it, supposedly she wanted a little more flexibility. Disney didn't give her that flexibility, that budget that she wanted. And then she handed it off to Ryan Coogler. I mean, Disney already had him on the list, you know what I'm saying? But I think it was one of those, we black people looking out for our own.
And she said
kind of
she
thing.
handed it off somewhat.
She was like, yeah. And then he just ran with it. And I think you're right too, by the way. I think that's not knowing her past movies and everything she's done, like with Selma. I mean, Ryan Coogler, he just did Creed. I mean, that's like a franchise kind of movie, and then you take off on a Marvel kind of movie.
Yeah, and they're gonna embrace him big time. Like, the guy James Gunn
too?
And the Russo brothers, they was like, look, we're gonna pay you whatever it takes because we need you as part of this. But we went into talking about Black History Month and how generational. We supposed to have been looking at certain things in school and how it's being a little more progressive. I'm not sure about all schools, so we generalizing right here. But with this movie and the fact that black people actually brought out the theaters so children can actually go.
Yeah, I love that.
There were, just groups that said, let's put our money together so we can go as groups. This this was a cultural phenomenon that, mainstream did not expect to happen. And I think the worst thing, not worse, but a slight thing that they didn't understand was white geeks has followed Black Panther
which is crazy.
There's white people that know more about Black Panther than most black people who read comics knew.
So true.
I mean, clearly.
That's so true. I noticed that like 2 years ago when they announced it, like when they were just like, oh yeah, they announced like I think what did they start with? I think they started with Ryan Coogler, or they started with maybe Chadwick
Boseman.
I forget. I don't know.
It was, They started with Chadwick.
When he was and then they had, well, of course you're right, because he was in the Avengers. And
But
then
here was the
they
thing:
announced his
people
own
didn't want
movie.
him on there because they was tired of seeing him in like James Brown and fucking
He's in everything though.
everybody.
Like,
You know what I mean?
like literally everybody from oh
Jackie
shit,
Robinson,
Jackie Robinson?
Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta look up his because this is crazy. He Thurgood Marshall, Jackie Robinson, James Brown.
Mhm.
Um, shoot,
So he's
and all
gonna be
these
everybody now. He's Black Panther. But
gods of Egypt.
Right.
so yeah, no.
Yeah.
He gonna be Imhotep next and shit.
Shit, why not?
But you know, what was the feel? Y'all both went. You know, I went twice. What was the feel in the theater when y'all went?
I mean, you already know. You know, you got the clap breaks. I don't want to give any spoilers per se, but there was a point where the character T'Challa made a speech and motherfucker was like, "Yeah, that's right," and 1 minute was like, "Yes," you know what I'm saying? And then when the fight scenes and the warriors was fighting, so it was one of those things where I'll just say this: like in the past, you wanted to like I want to say the Jackie Robinson movie, you know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to like that, but it kind of sucked. It wasn't like I want to like it, but I don't.
But
you know
really
what I'm saying?
don't, It was okay
so
though. It wasn't.
it wasn't.
It didn't. You know,
I'm not gonna watch that shit again.
Right. It's one of those. You can say you did it and you was done.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. So it was for the theater I attended. It was, the crowd was into it, but people weren't. People were respectful, and it was nice. You know?
Yeah. So E, what about you, bro?
Yeah. So where I saw, I'm in North Jersey, so it's kind of like a mixed crowd. Probably a little more white, but it's Black Panther, so it's probably a good even number, 50-50, or 50 Hispanic or whatever. But first of all, it was packed.
Right.
People were dressed up. There was a line. First of all, it was a reserved seating, and yet there was still a line outside.
Wow.
So it was. I don't even know how that worked. People were confused, but apparently they had to do it for this movie and all the other movies. I had to go into the theater and ask what time is this line for.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? In order to find out where where my line is. Yeah, but I'm like, isn't my seat reserved? Anyway, but no, everybody was hyped. Like the minute it started. First of all, I mean, normally when we go to a movie, they have the minute it hits at 9:30, boom, the lights go down and everything.
No, the lights stayed open.
Yeah,
right?
It stayed up, like almost as if they were like, people are going to be late, so let's wait a little longer. They end up starting the movie at 10 o'clock, even though it was supposed to be 9:30 for some reason. I don't know if that's the way that theater works, but it was a nice AMC theater.
Right.
Maybe they just knew everyone needed to get their seat. But they were hyped, man. Like a fight scene happened, it was like, yeah, then the girls tripping when then they took the shirt off, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
They'll say I'm not gonna, of course, spoilers, but they'll say something like some like poetic, historic, heroic, like, when my men when our people jumped off the boat, I forget the quote, everybody was like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, buddy kept
yeah,
real.
yeah. He had a lot of like quotes like that.
So he had a lot of good lines.
Bro, he was a great character.
Yeah, everyone was respectful though. You know what I mean? It wasn't one of those like everyone was
Screaming at the screen type shit.
Yeah, you're like, shut up. Nah, it was like on point. Everyone, like, people were actually soaking it in, so it was good.
So one thing I caught in the theater that I was at, and I think AMC made a shitload of money. Because reserved seating, and these was the one that you eat at. So I always go to the ones that eat. So people was eating up a storm. But what surprised me was, and I've never seen this, and I saw Star Wars, and I saw all of the major ones. There was 5 different Black Panthers showing almost at the same damn time.
Yeah,
I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And they all had lines going into it. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, well, not all of them. Let me take that back. I'm lying now. Because some of it was still playing. But the ones that we came in like 10 minutes before, and we were still waiting at the door to get in. The other two was like a half hour before or whatever, and they were waiting. And 2 was already being played at the same. I've never seen 5 fucking movies at the same time. And it was like, they're going to maximize whatever they could with this movie, because when it started, that's what it was. And I was like, wow. Because Thursday was real limited. It was only 2 3Ds and 1 IMAX. But when I went the second time, it was 5 different ones in the different theater that I went to.
Yeah.
And it was just phenomenal. But I'll go to what you were saying too. The quotes that this movie that you would never expect to hear was, historically, this is what y'all did to us. Michael B. Jordan's had a couple of things, just throw me in the water because that's where my ancestors was, because you're not going to chain me up. The other one was, I'm going to take this off your hand because, hey, that's how you got it. Right. And I was like, whoa. And he kept it so real. He was like such a real villain.
Well, I mean, he was a villain, but
he was respected because what he was trying to do was to get back what we should had. And what's interesting was there was white people who still got it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They didn't got offended like, whoa, look at y'all now. They was kind of like, no, I get it though. I get it. Because this is Africa.
Shit.
And Africa was
Michael B. Jordan's characters. Michael B. Jordan's character is from Oakland.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Exactly.
That's AKA Huey B. Newton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The history. The history is right there. So I just thought it was amazing, and like they said, a cultural phenomenon. I just felt like when I saw it, tears came up to a certain point when they came to the country, and you just saw the technology, because I'm a tech guy. For once, I'm a tech guy. I'm a black man and I'm a tech guy, and you just saw the beauty and the magnificence, and then the tradition on top of that. Everything was like, that's where I want to be.
Mike, to your point, I want to say, besides The Matrix comes to mind. So, in The Matrix, they got the guy in the, Tank. He's like the hacker. I forget what he does. Mm-hmm. But besides like a black techie in the movie,
right.
That's the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, because it's really not.
I'm trying to think. Obviously, Morpheus, black leader,
but
in the movie.
He wasn't a tech. He was a guy that.
True, he was the leader of the techs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. To your point, when you talk about representation in film for those kind of characters, I mean, I'm trying to blank. I have to be overlooking somebody.
So
right?
John Sally, I forgot what movie he was in, but he was a nerd tech, tall, dummy, silly nerd with glasses. So
and you know what?
Stereotypical nerdy.
Not no Steve Urkel shit. Like actual. That's why I like dude from The Matrix, because he wasn't on that.
The dude on the.
He was actually like a real dude. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
On the computer, the actual.
So, remember the guy who was sent them into the Matrix?
Yeah. He pushed the button.
Yeah, that was.
He got killed.
That was Jack.
Yeah, he got killed up by Cypher. That guy.
And then he woke after he shot him. He got up and shocked the shit out of him, and then brought everybody back.
Yeah, exactly. See, he was, that's a good character versus fucking, Johnny No Lines. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So this was phenomenal. Go ahead.
You know what? I don't even want to spoil it.
Go ahead, man. It's so much in this movie that if you don't see it as a whole, you won't understand.
Well, okay. So one of the things that popped on there was, first of all, there were a lot of black lead actors. Like in general, you don't even notice it, first of all. But part of me is like, I wonder if that's because as a black man, I'm like, of course, that he's doing that, and and she's on the computer and she's holding it down. You know, she's a warrior and again the mom's holding it down over there. I was just I don't know the roles just seem natural to me, but as you kind of go through the movie, you realize there's not many white people in the movie, and you don't even notice it until I mean you already see it in the trailers. That you have,
and you know why? Because the way they were written, and they were people.
yeah,
They weren't black people. They were just people. Whereas in other
They're
movies,
black people.
yep.
yes, and that's a fucking problem. Like you know,
Right.
how high Soul Plane. You know what I'm saying? It's you know it is what it is. But
Yeah,
you be like,
the thug. Although there was a moment in the movie it kind of started that way, you know, and then you're kind of like, okay, what's going on here? But then you know,
Then you see the
Boom.
Yeah,
reasoning
but-
on that though.
yeah.
but it's Michael B. Jordan. Damn,
Yeah.
spoiler
No,
alert.
but his father, who's one of the most famous mugs now, you know, he wins all the awards because This Is Us?
Yeah, this is. Well, I feel like we need to pause and be like, look, moving forward. We're about to close mute this for a second because we're about to spoil a few things. But yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Sure, I guess.
I mean,
Well, you haven't
Give it
seen
away.
it yet, man.
if you haven't
Then-
seen it yet,
just go to the fucking theater. Like, what are you doing?
but he had a good cameo, or
You
not
see-
even a cameo. He's Stephen Brown, I think his name is. With This Is Us.
No, Sterling K.
Sterling. I mean,
Yeah, Sterling K. Brown.
Listen to me.
Well, Sterling something Brown, something.
Stephen. Who was that?
Steven, who the fuck?
Oops.
But it started to your point. As soon as I saw that, I was like, what the fuck? So what is he going to the hood for? And then when you get the reasoning, then it just explodes from there. And you're like, oh shit. Right?
Storytelling, motherfucker.
Whoa. So what the critics and everyone's saying is this changes the way Marvel can make movies now.
Well, not yes and no.
does.
I mean,
There's
I'm not.
which
It doesn't.
other one
what I-
had this much substance of reality? What's going on?
no.
now with that?
My point is, how many other people and characters have the same ability to have a movie made on this level? Like fucking Ant-Man is going to be silly and goofy.
Hold on.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the purpose.
You know what I'm
That's the
saying?
purpose.
The next, if there's going to be another Iron Man. I feel like Iron Man just shows up in the Avengers now. But
Hold on.
He's not
You
gonna
know-
have his own. No
You
more.
know what?
that's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna jump. I don't know what you call these franchise universes, whatever. The closest movie to this, and it's not even Marvel, was I know it's not race related, but Wonder Woman had a
Yes,
similar
yes. Yeah.
kind of.
Okay.
I don't think as strong, but I mean it's widely successful. You know what I mean? Based off of the numbers, but it was
Women, gender.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean,
it's strong in that sense.
yeah. And
But
then-
you got a
It
combination
wasn't
of
as
women
dope.
and a race
Yeah.
going for this one, where this
And-
one was.
Oh, yeah,
it was
this is-
good. You followed it. You know what I mean, for Wonder Woman. You followed it because if you're a fan of comics, but
Right.
a strong woman figure that says, I'm just going to kick ass and I'm not going to worry about you looking at me as a woman because I'm a warrior. And these women just was like, yes. Where here, and I'm gonna flip it a little bit too, is Black Panther was okay in this movie. The women in here
Oh, I
fucking
love them.
dominated this shit.
yeah, I love them now. Like,
I loved them in there.
my favorite was I know everybody had their own favorites, but I love the I don't even know her name, but the one that wore the red, the one of the lead warrior.
Oh, she was the general. General
the-
Okoye.
The Walking Dead chick.
yeah, the sister
Yeah, this-
of Black Panther.
No, so wait a minute.
I'm tripping. No. The sister of the.
Oh, the sister. Yeah, everybody
Get
loved
Out.
her though, man. That was my favorite
Is that her boyfriend?
because she was brilliant,
Yeah.
dude. She was,
Yeah.
you know, again, she's the tech girl, and she was like someone you knew, but she was in Africa. You know what I mean? And I was like, how fucking cool was she? And this dude is a billionaire. Because if you
Probably
didn't
more
know
than
it,
that.
you knew it when he said, no, I just brought, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, we telling too much in the movie. But
Yeah. So at the end.
yeah,
no.
yeah. So this is something that another thing that's needed around this time because of the political climate that we in, that people of color are being marginalized and minimized in the eyes of the people that's in office right now. And you have to take pride in something to say that you can be better and you should want to be better. And here's an example that just said, hey, this is a fantasy thing, but the fantasy that you look at can be real. One of my grandbabies said, I'm going to write a comic book about me now. He said it while sitting there. Now I can write a comic book and it can be me. I can be the superhero. I didn't ask him anything. As soon as it was over, that's clearly what he said he wanted to be. And I was like, that's really what I wanted him to see it for.
Right. Yeah, just like the Obama becoming president. Because, I mean, just like you guys know, we grew up and the idea of being president was like, yeah, you know the saying, you could do anything you want.
You can be anyone.
Anything but president. But you just knew that,
president.
It was like, you don't have to say it, but you just know, ain't nobody gonna be president, but I can do anything else, because I'm in America. But,
Except
the same thing like this. This is Hollywood, though. But, I mean, we live in a society where, we have entertainment like this. And this is the first. I mean, he's the first black director that had a budget that big, 200 million.
200 million.
200 million, the first black Marvel movie director. I mean, he broke records just on the first day, the first weekend. I mean, I don't know if he was number one on the first weekend, but I think it's over 400 worldwide.
Now, yeah.
It might even be 500 now.
So he slightly lost out to the Avengers by $5 million. Just $5 million.
It's gonna go up so much.
So
I think it might hit $1 billion. I'm just saying that right now. I think it's gonna hit $1 billion
because it's people who didn't see it or who's waiting to say, because the first time they said I couldn't get tickets, they're not gonna go the next day. They're gonna wait, and then when they wait, then there's other people who's gonna go again. Because I'm telling you, I'm gonna see it 3 times because it's worth it. It's worth it, and to contribute financially to let Hollywood and everyone know that if y'all want blockbusters, it can be all of us in there.
Yeah.
But it's got to be quality.
And you can be real. Yeah, because they were real in the movie. Like Michael B. Jordan was just, he was a brother. He was us.
Yeah, he was
us. It wasn't even no kind of like hiding anything or whitewashed anything. He was just real, man. And that's the way it should be.
And he didn't change to be, okay, now he's going to be the nice guy, or now he's going to understand. No, he stayed that character until he, whatever.
Oh, like in a lot of other movies where there's a white savior or some shit. I'm going to help you understand.
Or they realized their ways were wrong and they stop.
Yeah, it was like, you know what? Nah.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
I know it's
the white.
But I love that because you really said, you know what? Some people, that's just how it is. It's just how it is. So now, extraordinary. It's really, I wanted to kind of touch a little bit on it because of the climate that we're under politically, and how people just say, how about shithole countries now? You know what I mean? If Africa wasn't colonized, look at what it could be. Look at what we could have created without the colonization of the Dutch, the Portuguese, the British, the all of them that came there and kind of destroyed Africa and made it the way it is right now. They isolated themselves. They ensured that no matter what, we have to fool people to say you can't see who we truly are because we know what you would do. So that made me think about how he called out the shithole countries and said, you know what? You caused this shithole country. It's the people like you who cause the shithole conditions not the shithole people.
I mean, you know, Trump doesn't know about history.
Because he doesn't read.
Yeah, he doesn't know about colonization. And, you know, like, I was, you know, if you know Welcome to the Wall, you know, Bang Bang Boomerang.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a conversation about how, you know, he thinks, I don't want to switch gears too much, but he was like, you know, he thinks there's a chance gun control could pass because a lot of people are upset and, you know, the mood is changing. The mood, people have been upset since the election. And, you know, just like, motherfucker, I can't, you know, like, I'm sick of this shit, right? I was like, I don't think so. Because you got a lot of people like, he's making shithole comments. People don't, you know, just people don't really think about that. And I'm just kind of mixed on the subject just because will we have change? Like, okay, so on one hand, we had this great event where, you know, Black Panther comes up and we make progress on the media level. So, you know, Kugler and all that shit, that's great. And on another level is like, damn, we just had the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are we gonna make progress on gun control? I was like, I feel like we have this conversation every year. You know what I mean?
No.
So
I think that's really big because I actually pull so much data across, and there's so many shootings over the last 4 years that I forgot the ones. That's how bad it is.
Like,
it's so many that you forget the ones prior to the ones that are current. And that's you know, emotionally devastating because you got lives that people on the right are saying this is not the time to talk about gun control. Let's just pray. Praying didn't stop it, and the praying isn't stopping it going forward. Is it gun control? Is it mental health? What is it? And except for finding the one smoking gun, it's fucking all of it. You took money away from people for mental health, so they cut that in the budget. So there's not a lot of mental health facilities and money going to the local government to help people like that. You hitting the FBI saying they're not doing their job, and then they slipped on this one, but they're focusing on all types of shit that the president is saying that they're worthless.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. So I've been thinking about that aspect. So I'm not, from a libertarian perspective, you know, if libertarians are all about, you know, so libertarians are all about civil liberties and all that shit. So I'm thinking of McCarthyism and, you know, back in the day, hey, you're a communist. Like, what? So I'm thinking, like, what if, on one hand, what if you just got motherfuckers just being accused of, man, so-and-so, you know, he's crazy. Mm-hmm. What proof do you have? You know, where's the evidence? You know, you need due process. On the other hand, if someone is crazy, how can you know, how is that handled in a way to prevent harm to themselves and others? You know what I mean? So what's the line between civil liberties and, you know, y'all need to come get this motherfucker? Or
no, I do.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's where the argument had with my wife and a couple of people that we had over, which was, they was like, they should pick them up right now. You can't. There's nothing in the law. Exactly.
You need due process.
He didn't do anything. Most of these people brought guns legally. Mm-hmm. Now, they had conditions under that was kind of suspect, but we don't have laws in place to say that if you beat your wife,
we got to check your social media,
that you shouldn't have a gun. There's no law that says I have to take your gun away. Okay,
so to rent a car, you got to be like, you got to be 25, right? Without another driver.
No,
it's not 25
for an SUV or a truck or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, for real?
I lied to your ass.
So I can buy a gun before I can rent a truck? Are you serious?
Yeah. Before you can drink. You can buy a gun before you can drink alcohol.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In some states, not every state.
So there was one law, and I kind of had to go do some research, and I forgot what show I was looking at, but they're closing on a law that says that your gun rights can be portable. So if you have the right to have, a concealed weapon in Nevada, but you go to New York where they say you can't have that, the law says if you have a license in that other state, you should be allowed to come into this state with a gun. Even though your law said no one in New York is allowed to have it.
And we got to pause. So, the Parkland thing happened, right? And low key, I'm not going to lie, I looked for security as soon as I got to the theater to see Black Panther. Because I'm like, I do not want some punk ass copycat motherfucker to do some weird shit. So I'm scoping it out, looking for somebody out of place and crazy.
Copycats.
I'm like, well, I'm just thinking, what... Just some, far right white nationalist motherfucker. You know what I mean?
To say, you know what? I'm tired of these type of people.
Black, you know what I'm saying? Black Panther opening weekends, just fuck it up.
Good opportunity to do something. But again, so the big thing that's happening now is the fact of there's children who saying, I'm calling bullshit. Because y'all keep saying y'all want to keep our children safe, but you haven't done a damn thing about it. So the children are speaking out. Yeah. They're pulling their parents together. They're going to the legislature,
which is great to see.
But honestly, it means nothing.
I don't think so.
So let me explain why it doesn't mean anything. Here's the first example. They were getting on buses to go to the Florida,
the Capitol.
And you know what they did? They voted on their shit before they got there. So people in charge, unless you get them the fuck out, it doesn't matter. And none of those children can vote. So it looks good. Now it's a really, we care about the children, but when it's time, people are going to hold on to their guns. Yeah. They're just going to. They just feel sooner or later the Mexicans and the blacks and the Muslims is going to come after us, and we got to have our guns. That's what they holding on for.
Okay, so they got, right now, there's a CNN town hall, and they got all these kids, the ones from that Parkland shooting. Like one, that girl that's been all over TV with the shaved head. That's
her and the little gay boy, right?
Dana Loesch or something. Yeah, I forget the names, but a lot of them have voices that are pretty loud, and they're getting a lot of followings, and I'm not talking about Twitter. I'm just talking about in general. Like, they're all over TV, and they're actually saying some shit that I think we would all actually agree with, on how there should be better gun control laws, and how if they can vote, I mean, they would make their voices heard, but they can't, so that's why they're making a stand, But I mean, right now I'm looking at it. You got the NRA spokesman talking. A white lady that looks like she looks like a billionaire. You know what I mean? I'm sure she's making bank right now. Talking to these kids, probably saying how they think that guns are good and more guns is better. But then you got these kids that actually were in the room being shot at, hiding in closets, and it's like they can win by being kids and just saying, look, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what okay. So when we were kids, we were in school, our fears were probably, depending on where you lived,
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
There's no guns out there, but I mean, you're probably thinking about what bullies or, maybe some
getting beat up after school.
Yeah. You're not.
So fight some motherfuckers, or
you're not thinking of.
So there's a food fight. Yeah, you gotta dodge some pudding.
Lunch money, you gotta hold on to it. No, I'm just kidding. But
right.
Nah, but I mean, so these kids today are thinking like, there's kids like me that are getting shot up and dying just straight up in school. Like, it didn't even matter what age you are. I'm looking at the numbers right now. In 2018, as of February at this podcast, there's already been 8 incidents already, like school shootings in 2018. Just
Yep.
school
just
shootings,
schools.
incidents. There's,
Damn.
61 injuries and deaths, like all over the country already. You know what I mean? Like that's on pace for, I don't know the math, but that's crazy.
And it's just, and I know most of them had to be dudes, and I don't want to make light of situations, but I think like it's like when I was in high school, you want to just hang with your people and talk to girls, and you know what I mean. I was like, what the fuck's going on?
It's different. Yeah, it's
different.
It is.
Really?
It is
It's really
because, and I'm just gonna go with the social media thing. If you're not the one, and if you're not getting the followers, and if you aren't part of something that people can look to and say you're part of it, no,
You wanna
my
shoot
life
a motherfucker?
isn't as good as others. So I'm depressed, and then you never know what kind of the medication we've been giving these kids, that in their mind it just goes to a point of, you know what, I hate the people around me because their life is better and mine is shit.
You know what?
He was.
He was a former student, so that's possible. So he was away from the
But
school.
he was suspended
Maybe
from the
didn't
school.
have anything.
He was
I
expelled
know.
from the school.
Yeah, he had
Okay.
mental issues though. I mean, like he was actually bringing weapons and just dangerous devices, I think is what they said, or whatever. Like they had to ban him from bringing backpacks because he kept bringing stuff, and they were saying kids were actually saying that he would shoot the school up, or do wild shit that he.
But did you hear what the people? Because his mom died like months ago.
Yeah,
and then another family took him in.
Yeah.
And they said, "I know you got all of these guns, but just put locks on them."
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I know you got a bunch of guns. I know you're depressed. I know you've been bringing shit in school. I'm gonna let you come into the house, but just lock them up.
They didn't put locks on him?
No.
So wait, his
He
locks
had
or
to get
they
locks
have
for
locks?
his guns.
An
So they
AR-15 though, like
Yeah.
not a handheld,
not a handgun.
underneath the
Not like
desk or
a-
in the closet. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
just
fucking AR.
yeah, no,
Like a little home
These
defense
were
gun, yeah.
AK-15, AK-47
Yeah,
type
shit,
shit.
you gotta like, you
These were assault weapons.
gotta sit
Like, you
down
have
to
to go,
put that shit together. Like that's
Gang banging. Oh, it takes about
Yeah.
20 minutes before you go gang bang.
So,
Yeah.
so
Wait
all
a minute.
that tells me is, guns are acceptable. Guns shouldn't be in the hands of some people. So gun owners are saying you can't ban all guns and you can't regulate all guns. You just people. But the problem is, who are those certain people? How do you identify certain people? And how do you restrict the fact for them not to get it? And it should be licensed. What's the problem with saying, hey, look, show me that you're proficient, and if you got a criminal record, you cannot own a fucking gun.
So here's a funny thing that happened to me today. I had to I went to renew my tag, right? And Mike, we talked about my car before. I got the hybrid / electric car situation, the Volt.
Yep.
And there was bullshitting on my tag. So I got the tag that I can get on the HOV lane, right? And it was like there was in there trying to be like, oh well, it got gas, so get a regular tag. I'm like, my shit is electric. What do you I want the good tag so I can get the HOV lane and I can park at
the good shit.
Yeah, so I can park in the green. You know what I'm saying? I want a regular tag. So they was giving me a hard time just for my fucking tag, and the fact that it can just be like, you know what, I'm ready to just kill some motherfuckers. And there's no government interference if I want to go buy a gun. No, I'm just saying. So if I'm just ready to be like, you know what, I'm joining the set. I'm gang banging. Let's shoot some motherfuckers. All right, you gotta go get a gun. All right, that's not hard.
It's easier than getting the HOV tag.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, the fact that getting my fucking tag You know, I was at the mercy of the fucking DMV lady. She's like, you know what? I think she thought I was attractive, so she's like, just give it to me. You know what I'm saying?
You put the charm on that ass. Except for putting a gun to her head.
Shit, message. There's a fucking message here, folks.
And my point, and the thing is, I feel bad, and I'm being pessimistic on it because I appreciate the children standing up, and that symbolizes something that says, even though you're preaching to protect the children, you're doing nothing to protect them. And these are the children that were actually shot at.
Can we take a step back though? So I'm just on one hand we talking about Black Panther, and I know I kind of segued into gun control. So I'm just curious. So if you're a kid coming up, I mean, you saw Ferguson, you know, you saw Trayvon Martin, you saw Eric Garner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've seen these school shootings, but on the other hand, especially for young black, you know, guys, you know what I'm saying? You know, when you're black, that's already a problem. If you're black with a gun, that can literally be a death sentence. Mm-hmm. So if you've seen these school shootings, you know, what do you think their perspective is? Because I'm thinking about, you know, because I think self-defense is a good thing, but at the same time, it's like, damn, you know what I'm saying? When you think about gun control, who should have it? I mean, would you say that black people should have guns, like in terms of being on their person?
Well, you can
out in public.
It's your right. So, but we can't because we're not considered citizens.
Because
we're just
all right. So I'm just saying. So if this shit happens, because I'm thinking like, all right, if this shit happens, because my angle is, you know, I'm basically hitting the angle that the Republicans. I'm playing devil's advocate, right? Where this shit happens, there's another person with a gun. They can shoot the shooter, and I'm like, damn, I should open a gun shop. You know what I'm saying? The shooter can buy my shit, and the person who's going to shoot the shooter, right?
The crazy motherfuckers can get it, and the people defending, just in case the crazy people show up. There's plenty of guns to go around.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, like, for the black community, I mean, what's your take on it personally? You know what I mean?
I'm a big advocate of no guns, and the reason why I'm not, because I was in the military, and I know emotionally how people can react with a firearm in your hands. And one of the football players, I think we talked about this before, but if not, I'll just say it again. One of the football players, I forget his name, said he was in New Orleans and he was driving his SUV and he had his gun underneath his seat. And this guy was going across the street. He looked at him and he slowed down, and then he looked at him again, and then he came toward his truck. And he immediately said, I had a gun. So I reached down, I had it in my hand, and as soon as that guy was in there, he was ready to blow him away. Like, if he tries something, I'm going to shoot him. And the guy said, I'm lost. Do you know where blah, blah, blah is? He said, but if you didn't have a gun, what would your mind be thinking then? Would you be thinking, I need to blow this dude away, or let me be careful, or let me take caution? And he said, but I had a gun, so I was ready to blow his ass away. That's who I am. As a person, it's kind of like, look, if I have the power to stop someone from doing something, I got it. But there's a certain amount of control certain people should have. I have to really get in my mind that I have to do that. But if I had a gun, that's just power in your hand to be able to just say, on a whim, somebody act a fool. It's still justified. But could you have avoided that shit if you didn't have a gun?
That's very fair. Like, in the house, we got Nerf guns, you know what I'm saying? We shoot each other for fun. But I don't.
Oh my God!
Yeah, in fact.
And who's the Indian? You know what I mean?
Well, no, we have multiple guns, so we have little battles. Okay. You know what I'm saying? There's yeah.
Oh, okay. Nobody gets
Well,
hurt.
them bitch, Nerf guns.
Nerf, that'll put a little
Like,
whelp
like,
on your hands. A little whelp.
you think you hard, and then somebody shoot Nerf guns at your face.
Fake, yeah.
Hey, stop playing.
Into your forehead.
So I was curious about that because I'm like, man, I'm just, what? Again, the kids are protesting. I'm just curious. If I was young, I mean, to Mike's point, shit is different now. What would I be thinking?
Right.
Because I'm just thinking like, man, if I was like what in my teens, I would just have to be like, man, guns are just, it either if the police catch me and they see me reaching or whatever, then
You know what's going to happen.
yeah, it literally can just be like, hey, da da da. I mean, again, I don't want to generalize because A, what are chances you get pulled over, and B, what are chances you have like a cop who's just gonna overreact? You know what I mean? So I don't want to just over exaggerate that, but at the same time, probability,
Yeah.
it's just something to be careful of.
So, E, what's your thought on it, though, man?
Well, I'm kind of wondering, to go on the other side, I keep hearing about, forget the NRA, but just conservatives or gun people or whatever they call them. They always talking about how we need to give the teachers the guns, and how forget the more guns, will stop the shooter. But they're just saying if teachers have the guns, then then that would stop a shooter. It will make kids or whoever intruders less likely to shoot up a school. And I don't get the logic of that.
I want to pause.
Yeah.
So these women have been going crazy, fucking these teenage kids.
That's what I was going to say.
So I was like, could you imagine? Like they can't. So okay, student plus teacher equals scandal and whatever.
I don't want my kid in there.
So then you got teacher, fucking kid, and a gun. That's
good.
Yeah.
It's like something's happening. Somebody's getting shot. I don't. She's gonna shoot the little teenage girl.
Yeah, like
you know,
fucking
bitch.
with my man. She's like, what? You're the teacher.
Or
Shut your
even-
fucking mouth.
Or even like, hey, we better read that fucking book, and they pull the gun out or some shit. It's gonna happen.
Like-
If you don't leave this class,
Hey,
I'm gonna fucking put a bullet in your head. We're like, whoa, the teacher just.
Yeah.
Like we was in a situation and we was in Tennessee visiting a friend, and we it was at night and we was like in this kind of exclusive neighborhood, and we pulled in the wrong driveway and the gravel was different, so we trying to get up this steep hill in a little car. Dude comes out the house with the gun, with a rifle. It was like, oh shit. So I don't want to go on, I'm not really going to go into it, but I'll just say having a gun put on you is like not
fun.
Not cool.
because it's just depending on the proximity and all that shit, that can be your ass. So it's like what I'm saying is, as an adult, I can deal with it, but if I was like young or in my teens and the motherfucker just pulls a gun on some bullshit, and again, I'm not saying a teacher would, but so the issue with teachers is the issue with a lot of careers. I mean, the higher paying you have, jobs you have, the generally speaking, and of course that's a generalization, but you're gonna have higher talent. And one issue with teaching is attracting certain levels of talent. So who gets a gun in the classroom? Do they get training? Are they going to be in that bullshit? Because if they're going to be on some bullshit, you're going to have lots of scarred ass kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Just,
Yeah, I don't get the logic though. Like,
well, the logic is that shit happens and you cap them.
like
No, I get what you're saying, Eric. Like, who as a teacher all of a sudden gonna become a fucking
RoboCop or like
you know what I'm saying? Slide on the floor. You know what I'm saying?
I want my teacher to be not even just my teacher. I like my child. I don't consider my child's teacher to be the police. I want them to
to be a teacher
with my child. I mean, this is obviously wishful thinking, but I want them to be able to teach. I want them to be able to, to connect with your child and on a totally different level. I don't want them to have to be a security guard, and I don't even trust security guards. A police officer maybe, but that's not a responsibility I want a teacher to have, because I don't trust them to have that kind of knowledge or training to do that kind of thing. I mean, I'm more based off of the math itself, or the ratio of how many actual school shootings there are and actual teachers there are in classrooms. It's unlikely that they're ever going to be able to do that. So if you give them the ability, or you create a law that allows them to carry a gun, there's going to be teachers carrying guns, because that's what this country is, and that's going to scare the shit out of me when when I have a badass kid, and it goes down and they don't like this teacher because not every teacher is good, there's some shitty teachers out there, man.
I think here's the worst part with all of that, and this is what people fail to take in consideration. They put all they trust and say, I trust the teacher. Just like a lot of people put all they trust, I trust the police. But people are people. You don't know the psychology of people. So when you give them a deadly weapon and you don't recognize the psychology in these people, anything can happen. But the assumption is, since they're a teacher, that's the best person to have. Or since they're a police officer, they have our best interests in mind. That's not always the case. And we've seen that with these teachers fucking the children and the cops killing our children. That's not always a good thing.
Yeah, and
never good.
I want to say it was, it's typical, like the latter. And again, who's to say, the teachers was like, yeah, this motherfucker's been crazy. So this is the principal, is it the district, is it the mayor, is it the governor? And then the governor or somebody was talking shit about the federal government is, the FBI was fucking up. So it's just, you got the finger pointing and all that shit, and it's just kind of like so that's why I mentioned earlier when me and Bang Bang Boomerang was talking about it. He was saying he was hopeful for a change, and I was just like, and that's what I said earlier. You got the Trump, you got Trump in there, and basically what I'm saying is, until Republicans are in a position where they need to shift, we need to shift further to the center, then why wouldn't they just say, you know what, we didn't give a fuck that all these high school students were died and injured. We're just gonna keep the status quo, because why not? You know what I mean? So I think the frustrating thing to me is, I think Trump had another affair come out.
Yeah, the Playboy bunny, I think. Yeah. Yeah,
and then the alleger, she's like, motherfucker, somebody listen to me. And I'm just like, if Obama did even a little bit of this shit, it just, you know what I mean? And so the frustrating thing to me is just the absolute double standard of, well, our guy's doing it, so fuck you. And just the lack of, it's just like a lack of, I mean, if influence to a certain degree, because just me being a citizen in Georgia, I'm gerrymandered to a degree. I mean, Atlanta is what it is, but the state, in fact, I sent you guys, the state of Georgia passed some shit where gay couples couldn't adopt kids.
Yep.
I'm like, there's all the shit that's going on, and that's what you motherfuckers are focusing on?
Why you in somebody's house? You know what I mean?
And again, it's like small government, but you all up in people's. Republicans love to talk about government needs to be small, yet they want to regulate marriage and all this social shit. Why you give a fuck about gay people, man? Leave them niggas alone.
They're not bothering you. They're not parading down the street unless you're in California or New York.
And again, let's talk about California, New York, and Atlanta, and Midtown.
Oh yeah, Midtown.
High property values, nice neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's not gay? Rural America, and it's fucked up.
So guess what, though? Guess what? It is gay. They're just hiding because they know what's actually going to happen to them if they reveal themselves.
Well, openly gay areas tend to have good real estate value. So I'll invest once they come out. You know what I'm saying? I'll put my.
So in closing, we're looking at potential, possible, hopeful change with these children that's stepping up and hopefully influencing their parents to say, y'all keep talking about taking care of us. When are you going to truly do that? And the only way you can do that, now we realize, is regulation has to change. If y'all don't do that, y'all accepting that I may die. And that's a really bad feeling for anyone who has children and who owns a gun. Because it's not that you're safe. And this is what I always used to tell when I taught my children how to drive, I taught my wife how to drive. It's not how well you drive. It's how bad others drive. You have to be aware of others. Because if you're reckless, you're at least going in one direction. But if you're not paying attention, that's what's going to get you. So you have to always be aware of others. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's the others that's not. And that's the focus on the gun situation. I'm not saying you can't have a gun, but let's start controlling things so people who shouldn't have them, it'll pop up quickly now and be like, yo, that motherfucker's crazy. They didn't give him a gun. Thank God.
Yeah. They need to make these laws, man.
They need to be licensed.
You feel like it's coming, though? Do you feel like it's like they're on the verge of something? I mean,
where? Like state or national?
So this is what they're giving them. If y'all saw what Trump agreed on, it's that stock boot so it won't be an automatic weapon. That's bullshit.
Motherfuckers go and they customize weapons easy.
Who cares about that?
So
just because one person used that in Vegas, then that's the one thing that you're concerned about. The rest of them was handguns and AK-47s and all of that. That's the issue.
You know what they're trying to do.
It's distraction.
They're trying to set us up.
Just say we did something.
I did something. Y'all not happy? Yeah, that's all it is.
It's like when you like a fucked up house. We did some paint. And then what about
we turned on your water? You got
the
water,
plumbing, right? The foundation.
Yeah, you didn't even repair shit. Hey, look, the house looks clean. It's painted. The fuck else do you want? You be like, bitch.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just for me, I am getting a little cynical just because of the current crop. Like the current animal in there is just I don't know. Like it's just weird, you know. Like I'm just expecting them to turn on Trump, and it hasn't happened yet.
They have no reason.
Like
Tuesday.
Like the Republicans.
They have no reason.
No.
Yeah, but he's clearly damaging the brand. He's clearly. You know what I mean? It's okay. So here's the analogy. You know, I like my analogies. It's like, okay, say you're a business, and you get a spokesperson, and this spokesperson is grabbing women by the pussy, making deals with Russia when he's not supposed to. You're doing all types of shit, and it's like, do people want to shop here? And the customers keep coming. You're like, all right, we'll hold on to them,
But that's not the customers. That's only like once every 4 years. That's the problem. That's the real problem. Unless you want to break it down to every 2 years or the 6 or whatever.
But that would how stable would the government be though? You know what I mean?
So what do you mean? Like
like if you increase the frequency, you know what I mean? So I'm just thinking of how like the shifts. Like if you how you would have like a lot of shifts in people getting voted out, loaded in. Oh, like is that what you're saying?
Well, if they were doing it like that, like an actual business, then I mean, the Republicans would be out easy. Like they'd be out right now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, after the shooting happened, kids are mad, town halls, whatever, showing up at City Hall. Like I mean, it game over. You know what I mean? When the Obamacare shit was going down and people were showing up at town halls, they would have been fired on the spot.
You gotta wait.
Instead, nope, can't do nothing. So you know what they do? They hide. They disappear. They do interviews on TV. They're always on Fox News because they always have a platform. And then they just make these shitty laws. Like you
then the next thing comes up,
and that's what I'm
saying. Then you gotta deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm cynical, just because it's
I
like,
don't blame you. That's everyone kind of is in a way, because I mean you kind of lose hope because it's the same old. But see, something has to change. That's the thing.
the lines, the voting lines is bullshit. You know what I mean? The voting lines is just they're. Once you have that, then you get different candidates. Once you get you get these the different people voted in, people voted out. To me, that's the foundation. You just go back to how voting laws and the actual how these districts are drawn. Because I know you're supposed to do it by population, but some of this shit is just some bullshit.
A lot of it is. So what I want to go with, and I like to thank y'all for the conversation with the actual guns, and I appreciate, because I think that's really, really important, and that's something we definitely should have talked about. Tune in to our second half of Repo Rethink Politics, when we talk about the Russian meddling and voting as a citizen and what we should be expecting in the upcoming year.